So last week we talk about like last episode we talk about the O4s, how horrible the update was. Basically, it evolved into something different with the responses it was given on, and ChatGPT OpenAI made a post regarding it, and they rolled back within 24 hours. But last week they also made again a blog post about in depth regarding what their process are, what their take on this was, and how it happened, why it happened, those kind of stuff. So let's get into it, because couple of major things that they talk about is like how they update their models and how it works, and how they currently review model before deployment. So basically they review model and update how they updates, and also what went wrong with this launch kind of a thing. They also talk about that. We are also going to talk about that too. Then also couple of my thoughts, and yeah, let's see some couple of basic news at the end. But talking about how ChatGPT updates their model, here are a couple of points you should know that. So they take a pre-trained model, base model. So basically, if they are making a new model with the new sets of new multiple, with new code, with new something update regarding it, they take a base model. So basically, if they are working on ChatGPT 4.0, they will be taking ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 3. Like the previous model which already has launched and is kind of an pretty much solid and update. So basically, they take a previous model fine-tuned with ideal responses written by human or previous model. Basically, they work on the pre-base model, basically a previous model, and on that they fine-tune means is basically they work on new responses, how it gives it, and how the response is depending upon the previous model. So basically they just compare it regarding previous model, how faster it is, how better it is than previous model, and they also compare it with the humans written response too. So both are there. After that they give prompts and rating based system is there. So basically giving prompts and rating the responses, and they try to get high rated response mostly, and their most objective goal in that process is to get less likely to produce low rate responses. High rate responses means basically getting a perfectly good response or averagely good response every other time you give prompt to it. That is what high rated response is. Then they define the correct set of reward signals is basically uh, are the answers correct, are the answers helpful, or the whole answers that they are getting from this new model that they have written with new set of code lines, with new training over basic models, is it aligning towards their model spec. If you don't know what is model spec is kind of a base for every model they make. Basically it is a framework that they're all that it need, like it is a framework that it needs that all their models be in it. They don't want it to cross the model specs kind of and rules that they have already created, which is a kind of a limitation, not a limitation but a kind of a safety thing, that they don't want to go overboard and just like kind of and go into that. They need to know their limits and their rules regarding how they are going, like, so they have model spec that we have already talked before about model spec. I will link down what is model spec and ChatGPT model spec in the description. Every AI model has their own models kind of a spec, like Anthropic has their own AI kind of, they called it AI constitution. They have fed it with it. So a lot of companies have their own AI company with their own model spec, and OpenAI has their own too. So the model the training of that model needs to be in that all box check, like high rated response and within their own model spec. Now they have a review system too before deployment the model. So in review system they have a couple of points too. Offline evaluation. Offline evaluation means they review or basically evaluate the data with the help of already data sets they have. They have basically already existed data set they already have or bought it from someone to review that model that they have created, that like we talked before how they create their models, update their models basically, and review in such as math code and chat conversation. The data is regarding previous models. So basically if they have data regarding previous models like regarding math, regarding code and chat conversation, they just compare it to them and review it there too. So it is kind of an offline evaluation. Why is it called offline evaluation? Because it is done offline with the data set too, like it is not deployment, it is done by people. Spot checks and error check whether model is giving answers according to the model spec. uh, is it useful responses? So basically again same is like the behavior of the model is it is it within the model spec or the responses or it is giving, or is it even helpful or not. That is the point of spot checks and errors. Then they talk about safety evaluation with harsh prompts within it, like you can add, like I don't want to say those words, within health regarding kind of and stuff which, and also extreme thoughts, extreme ideas, where they also check the safety evaluation in terms of depth, what kind of answers that they are giving in this kind of sector, where if it is asked in the questions regarding these sensitive topics and they don't want to hallucinate, or even give highly wrong, not just wrong but highly insensitive response towards this kind of stuff. And they again uh, have a system card. They talk about system cards are public for safety tests before launch. This is just an overall evaluation which doesn't block law doesn't block of the overall model. What does that mean is like every model has their own system cards. System cards, I will link down that below. It is kind of an, you can say, a review system for every model. Review system, that is kind of, that review system is where they talk about how this model should be, what it model in depth. But the review system that we talked before, like those errors spotlight, that is not, that evaluation system is doesn't block the launch of the model, which should happen basically, but they are not doing it. So after that they do some A/B testing with small number of people with thumbs up and thumbs down feedback, just like what you do now. Now that is kind of an A/B test with small number of pre-test users, you can think so. Then these were about how they do the review system. Now with this review system there are a lot of things that are still not, and they addressed it, which is good, because if they have not addressed these issues with their review system, which is there in their review system, which should be more again in depth, and which also should be include now the emotional angles, how emotionally ChatGPT responses are now too. But let's go further and talk about what went wrong with the previous launch. So basically they were in hurry, what I have read in the blog this system. Overall, there were signs of delay. You can see that like their review system is not good, like they don't have uh, how emotional response this reviews like this model can get. There is no, again, lot of steps involved that they have talked with. Later we will talk about it, but like They did have minor problems, but they overlooked it and they have admitted in this blog post, which is a good thing. They have opted a new opt-in alpha testing prior to launch testing for users. Um, Basically, it is kind of an alpha test, like kind of an early testing before deployment. They need more eval, like I said before, with behavior process model and not rush before launched. Need improvements in their AB system, AB system testing. Model behavior error is now launched, blocking just like other safety. So basically, before, if model behavior was not something up to the mark, they used to overlook that thing and they just used to launch that model. But this backfired the same. This is the same reason that backfired OpenAI right now. So with the new update they have given us, that the model behavior error, whatever happens while testing, they will block the launch of the new model, which is a good thing. So also they talk about why they are now considering behavior measures is one of the most important, and I also think so. It's because people are using AI models in their daily lives, with getting advice, info, basic, like into their daily lives, like even getting advice regarding something that is happening in their life, advice regarding something small stuff like how, what should I do response in this scenario, what should I do this in this scenario, which is kind of an get, you can, it can get up to a lot of things, like from professional stuff to the personal response to the, in terms of when it comes to friendship, when it comes to relationship with your family or even with the boss, like this kind of stuff are also people asking that. So to understand uh, it needs to understand, OpenAI ChatGPT needs to understand the behavior of that, what the situation is too. And that did not happen with the last update, and so they need to be more careful now with this, because people are much more using AI, especially when it is much more getting really accessible, especially in mobile apps, and how good it is getting in terms of voice communication, especially this time. So this was the major problems people when AI is being used widely. Again, where behavior can be the major problem. Like it was kind of a speculation, but yeah, behavior can lead, like wrong behavior can lead to a lot of bad stuff. And not, it's not about just relying, but it's about having that kind of a tool in your hand that on daily basis you use it and it is just not working quite good. And and we are not even getting into the personal people advice that are getting on day to day, people are using it, so it can get dangerous. So it is one of the most major setbacks of AI, like any kind of tool, AI has these setbacks. And I hope people just get to know that, like when it comes to AI, when it comes to any kind of new technology, obviously there should be a trust, but there should be also self-awareness about the thing what you are getting into, because you just can't trust anything blindly. Like it's not just in technology, but in everything. But when it comes to, like, it's like they need to do better job from their side, and that's why we, in this technology, when it's always in this early stage, it's highly like it's highly unusual to just rely on stuff. Like when the phones were coming on in the first, like third, fourth generation, like people were not that much reliable with it, is because of with, and there were some people with which was so reliable on the phones, and how they were introduced being like your daily driver, like messaging, but they were not, like they were having low battery life, like like in seven, like low batteries. There were so many wrong with that system. Same with the AI right now. So self-awareness is important when you are using this technology. Kind of an this error was expected, but let's see. uh, at least we get to know their review system and how they updates their model, which is kind of a big deal, which is again not kind of a like, when it comes to updating your model, you will obviously get a pre-trained model. Like, again, I assume it was this thing, but again, it was kind of a confirmation, and we got to know in depth regarding it. So go read the blog post. I will link down in the description if you want.